very good evening and a warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Kukuletu Cele. South Africa's budget speech referred to various changes which will affect your retirement planning opportunities. To help us unpack it all is Hettie Joubert. She's the legal advisor at Momentum Employee Benefits, and Karin Muller, head of Sanlam Growth Market Solutions. Both join me now for analysis. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Karin, maybe if we can start off with you in our Cape Town studios. The key considerations from an overview that consumers need to take into consideration with regard to these changes, what are they?
The biggest thing that we saw in this specific budget speech is that we saw that the Minister of Finance started to increase taxes. Now, this increase is not across the board and it doesn't affect everybody equally, but it does mean that we as consumers will have to look differently at our finances. Now, looking at the increase in personal income tax together with the increase in the brackets and the rebates, it does mean that not everybody's taxes have increased with the 1%. So everybody who earns more than about 450,000 Rand did see an increase in their tax rates. And that means that we would have to start to tighten our belt somewhat.
Interesting, you mentioned tightening your belts. Hettie, maybe to get your perspective, if consumers are under significant pressure, it's the tax increases, it's the fuel levy that's also been slapped on, does this mean that you need to re-evaluate your retirement contribution? Do you need to increase it, linked to inflation, or maybe pull back on those cents maybe slightly?
It would have been so nice if people were able to increase it, but we all know realities are if the taxes are more, then you actually need more money in your back pocket. So although it's the wrong thing to say at this time, it is actually the time to start saving more, because things are just going to get worse. And if you don't have enough money now, guess what? You're not going to have enough money when you retire one day. And you have to start saving for it now.
We'll get into the savings in a moment from now, but I want us to take a look at the withdrawal from retirement annuities, which we know is a significant threat here in South Africa. Are we finding that the regulations that are being put in place are actually helping consumers, and consumers are now aware of this, that taking that money out when you change your job isn't exactly a good idea?
The tax is really significant if you take your money out before you retire, but that doesn't really deter people from taking their money anyway. You must remember that a lot of people actually literally resign jobs with the intention to get their money. So they are really cash strapped, they are very, very badly in debt, and this is the short-term solution to solve their debt problem. But the problem is that if you solve that problem now, you leave a bigger problem for when you retire one day. So people should under no circumstances resign from their jobs to get their money, and if they unfortunately have to leave their jobs, please, please, please preserve.
Please preserve.
Please.
Karin, your insights on this and also maybe the implications for non-residents, the key considerations that they need to take into account if they want to withdraw from their retirement, which is not something that we're actually encouraging on the show today.
Gugu, I think what we've seen when we look at the results from the Sanlam benchmark survey is that when people withdraw and they take their money, they use that long-term saving to fund short-term living expenses. Now, the problem with that is you can never make up the lost time. One of the biggest things that you need for retirement savings is time in the market, because that actually allows you to build up your capital over the longer term and to provide that income in retirement. Now, what we are trying to advocate for is if you change jobs, preserve at all costs, because you can still make plans and look at alternatives when you are young enough to work, when you're active enough to work. When you get to retirement and you're in your 60s or your 70s or your 80s, it's not that easy to supplement your income anymore.
Karin, to stay with you, are there particular options that consumers are able to consider when it comes to this preservation? Because some of them failed because there's a lack of knowledge out there. But what options might be available to consumers in order to preserve their retirement savings?
There's a couple of options that they have available. If you change jobs, you go from one employer to another, you can transfer your retirement savings from the fund that you were contributing to with your first employer to your new employer. And many employers do have a retirement fund, and you can do this quite seamlessly. You can also preserve your retirement savings in something like a preservation fund. This is an individualized product which is specifically created to preserve retirement savings. And then alternatively, it is also possible to keep your money in a retirement annuity fund where you can keep on contributing and investing in over time.
Hettie, from your perspective, obviously many South Africans are looking for the tax benefits associated with this, and I think top of the list must come retirement annuities.
There's also always a debate as to whether you should save more in your employer-owned occupation fund or whether you should go for a retirement annuity. And we generally find that if you have to belong to your employer fund, that's the ideal way to put your extra savings into. The retirement annuity is more for the self-employed and for individuals. And normally it's also a top-up for people that have occupational schemes. And there's actually a very, very good tax saving that was, I don't know whether it was intentional, but in 2008 what they did is they changed the maximum age at which you could take out your benefit in a retirement annuity fund, and at the very same time they also took away the tax, the estate duty that you paid on a benefit that comes out of retirement annuity. So the gap that created, and it's not an illegal gap, it is all within the law, is that if you are, let's say you are 80 years old and you are very sick, you know you're going to die soon, you pay your a big portion of what would have gone into your estate, you pay into the retirement annuity. When it pays out of the retirement annuity, all contributions that didn't previously qualify as a tax deduction will then be deducted, and you don't pay estate duty on it. So, and as I said, it was within the law. But that's the one thing that came out in the budget speech that they actually want to stop now. So what they want to do now is to say that portion of your contributions that didn't previously qualify that you wouldn't be able to deduct if you retire one day or if you die, that they now want to tax. And the problem with that is because a lot of people use this for estate planning. You can imagine if you don't have to pay tax on it, then why should you? The fact that a lot of people have already done that under the existing law. So if they now change that retrospectively, it means that people who have used that avenue are now caught, because you can't now withdraw the money that you've already paid into retirement annuity, and you're going to be taxed on it.
So what options do you have then?
We're actually hoping that what they will do, the legislature will do, is to say that that specific cap that they want to put in will only be applicable for money that went into retirement annuity after the 1st of March this year. So we're really keeping our fingers crossed for that one.
What we'll be looking out for an update on that one. Something else that you both did refer to, and Karin, if we can come back to you here, is savings. And that was also something that came out of the most recent budget speech from the finance minister, and also recently launched actually the 1st of March this year. These tax savings accounts, can they work in conjunction with one's retirement plans that they currently have at the moment?
Well, the tax-free savings accounts are actually not aimed as retirement vehicles. Currently, if you're saving towards retirement in a retirement annuity, you get a tax deduction on the money that you put in, and your return is not taxed at all, and then you pay tax at the end. The way the tax-free savings account works, it's actually the other way around. Your contributions go in from after-tax money. You don't pay tax on any interest, income or dividends in the product, but you are not taxed on the return. Now, when we look at these two things in comparison, there are a lot of benefits in retirement savings that you will get from the tax position when you ultimately retire, which still makes the retirement vehicles available better retirement funding savings options. However, the tax-free savings account is great for you to save for other needs and for additional money if you already reach your maximum deductibility for retirement. So retirement annuities, employer retirement funding schemes, these are not vehicles that you are intended to use for other purposes than retirement. So if you are saving to create a special vehicle to send your kids to university, for example, a tax-free savings account allows you to do that, or to save for another purpose. And the fact that the return is not taxed at all does give you a great benefit over the long term.
Interesting insights there. Well, we've come to the point of the show where we need to get some interesting insights and go back to our notes to self. Hettie, maybe if we can come to you, your key 3 takeaway points that South African consumers need to be aware of following the budget speech, and how the implications might impact their retirement planning strategy. The 3 things that we should consider going forward?
Save, save, save.
Save, and increase the savings even when there's no money left.
As I said, the irony is that if you don't have money now, you're definitely not going to have money one day if you don't start saving from that little that you have. And just to add to what Karin said about the tax-free savings, this is definitely not in lieu of a retirement benefit or retirement annuity, but in addition to. And the drawback with the tax-free savings is that it doesn't instill the discipline of forced saving, because you can withdraw the money at any time. Yeah. So it's rather a short-term saving, but a bit more disciplined than just putting your money in the bank, and there are tax advantages to it. But the other very important thing is, if you resign your job, please don't take your money, preserve it for one day, because as Karin also pointed out, that if you take the money out now, to make up for that loss in time and in returns is almost impossible.
Exactly. The power of time and compound interest,
yes.
clearly, hey?
Yes.
So save, and preserve your money. Karin, to come to you, the 3 key considerations that South African viewers need to understand from this evening's show.
I think the first thing from my perspective is budget and plan and get in control of your debt, because debt is the one thing that threatens your entire financial position. The second thing is, make the most of the benefits of retirement vehicles that are available. There are great tax advantages of using the retirement vehicles, like a retirement annuity or your employer retirement scheme. And then lastly, the tax-free savings account does give you the opportunity to save and benefit from the tax-free status on the income. So I completely agree. Save as the third thing.
Exactly. Well, we'll leave it on that point. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Unfortunately, that's where we have to leave it for Personal Finance tonight. Thanks once more to Hettie Joubert, Legal Advisor at Momentum Employee Benefits, and Karin Muller, Head of Sanlam Growth Market Solutions, joining us from our Cape Town studios. Do remember that we'd love to hear from you, so get in touch with us. You can send us a tweet to @CNBC Africa using the hashtag Finance410, or to myself @Kukumfupi on Twitter. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.